David the Cobalt Fairy. The battle was over, but a tremor shook the broken stones beneath David's feet. A deep, angry purple light emanated from a fissure that snaked across the floor. From the dark energy and shattered stone, Umbra rose, her form coalescing from pure shadow, more beautiful and terrifying than before. "Your power is just brute force," Umbra purred, her voice dripping with venom. "You lack the artistry of a true fairy." David's head snapped up, her cobalt eyes blazing with renewed fire. "I call it getting the job done," she shouted, unleashing a blinding beam of pure cobalt magic. "You want power?" David whispered, the sound amplified by the magic gathering around her. "I'll show you power." She raised her wand, and on either side of her, the very air shimmered. Two colossal missile silos, forged from pure blue cobalt energy, materialized from nothing, humming with unimaginable force. The missiles launched, screaming through the dark sky towards a terrified Umbra. "You're insane," she shrieked, throwing up a hasty shield of dark energy. "You'll kill us both." But her shield shattered like glass against the apocalyptic force. The world turned white, then blue. The missiles detonated, and Umbra was consumed in a nuclear magical firestorm. The resulting shockwave slammed into the weakened David, throwing her to the hard, unforgiving rock. Her world went black. Back at the Grand Fairy Palace, Queen Alara and the beautiful Kelvin saw the brilliant blue light flash on the horizon. A tremor rattled the palace to its foundations. "David," Kelvin whispered in horror. Without a word, they launched from the window, their wings beating with desperate speed. They arrived to a crater of devastation and found David at the bottom, lying still and broken. Alara placed her hands over David's body, and a warm, white healing magic flowed from her, but it had no effect. "She's gone," the queen said softly, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. "No!" Kelvin screamed, a raw cry of anguish. She lay down beside David, hugging her tightly, her body shaking with sobs. Her lavender-scented tears fell onto David's battered body. Where they touched, a faint purple glow began to emanate, slowly changing to a deep, familiar cobalt blue. David's fingers twitched, her eyes fluttered open. David slowly sat up, her body aching but whole. She looked at Kelvin, her heart swelling with a love that transcended magic itself, and pulled her into a deep, romantic kiss. It was a kiss of reunion, of relief, of pure love. "Ah, isn't that sweet?" a voice boomed from the crater's edge. Umbra stood there, darker and more menacing than ever, now that the touching reunion is over. She raised a hand, and a bolt of black energy shot towards them, but Queen Alara moved in a blur, a shield of pure white light, appearing to absorb the blast. "You're mine, bitch!" Kelvin shouted, flying at Umbra. Fearing for her love, David shot a ball of cobalt magic, not at Umbra, but at Kelvin. With a graceful poof, her posh lavender dress transformed into an armored mini-dress with sharp, razor-like wings. "Thanks, my darling," Kelvin called. Kelvin engaged Umbra, finally trapping the dark fairy in a cage of swirling lavender energy. "Now," Alara yelled. The three fairies focused their power. A single, tri-colored beam of white, lavender, and cobalt magic shot towards the trapped Umbra, who could only watch in horror as her doom approached and her essence was finally torn apart. The blinding light faded, leaving a silence that was almost as deafening. Kelvin's lavender cage dissipated into glittering dust. Exhausted, she fell into David's arms. "We did it," Kelvin breathed, her face buried in David's shoulder. Queen Alara nodded, a weary smile on her face. "Her essence is scattered. It is over." But as she spoke, the dust of the cage began to coalesce, swirling into a dozen smaller, shadowy forms, each with glowing purple eyes. "What are they?" David cried, pulling Kelvin behind her and raising her wand. The shadowy figures solidified into a swarm of smaller umbras, each a perfect miniature replica of the dark fairy. They didn't speak, but a collective high-pitched giggle filled the air, a sound of pure malice. Her rage, Alara said, her voice grim. Her hatred, given form, she has multiplied. The echoes surged forward. David erected a shimmering cobalt dome over them, but the creatures clawed at it, their shadowy talons screeching against the magic. Kelvin shot through an opening, a lavender blur of motion, her armored wings slicing through two of the echoes, which dissolved into shrieking smoke. For every two they destroyed, 3 more seemed to take their place. They were a relentless tide of darkness. While David and Kelvin fought on the front line, an echo slipped through a momentary gap in the defenses. It lunged at the queen, its claws sinking into her arm. Ilara cried out, stumbling back as dark energy coursed through her. A primal rage erupted within David. Seeing the queen fall, seeing the pained look on her face, broke something inside her. "Get away from her," she roared. Her body exploded with cobalt light, a nova of pure, untamed power that vaporized dozens of the echoes in an instant, shaking the very foundations of the crater. The blast gave them a moment's respite. Kelvin rushed to the fallen queen's side. "Hold on, Alara," she whispered, placing her hands over the wound. A soft lavender glow emanated from her palms, battling the creeping purple corruption that was spreading from the claw marks. The surviving echoes seemed to sense their impending doom. They shrieked and fled from David's incandescent rage, not scattering but converging. The shadows swirled together, merging into a single monstrous form. It was Umbra, but twisted and magnified, a hulking beast of pure nightmare with elongated limbs and a maw filled with razor-sharp teeth. The beast roared, a sound that tore at reality itself. It swiped a colossal, shadowy claw at David, who was still blazing with power. The blow connected with the force of a mountain, sending her hurtling into the crater wall. "David!" Kelvin screamed, creating a lavender barrier around herself and the weakened queen as the monster turned its attention to them. David pushed herself from the rubble, blood trickling from her lip. The cobalt fire in her eyes had not dimmed. It had focused. Raw power wasn't working. It was only making Umbra stronger, more monstrous. She looked at Kelvin, valiantly holding the line. She needed to end this, not with an explosion, but with a cage, a permanent one. "Kelvin, I have a plan," David's voice echoed in her lover's mind. "I need to get inside of it. You have to keep it focused on you." Kelvin's heart leaped into her throat, but her trust in David was absolute. "Just come back to me," she sent back, before unleashing a blinding flurry of lavender projectiles and illusions of herself, darting around the beast to enrage and confuse it. While the monster was disoriented, David seized her chance. She became a cobalt comet, streaking low across the crater floor. She dodged a flailing, shadowy limb and, with a final, determined cry, flew directly into the beast's roaring mouth. For a moment, there was only suffocating darkness. Inside, it was a storm of raw chaos and hatred. Whispers of doubt and fear clawed at her mind. But David closed her eyes and focused on one thing, Kelvin's face. Instead of fighting the storm, she let go. She released all of her cobalt magic, not as a weapon, but as a seed of pure, unwavering light, becoming a star in the heart of the endless night. The monster froze mid-roar. Cracks of brilliant cobalt light spread across its shadowy form like veins. Then, with a silent, graceful implosion, the creature of nightmare solidified, transforming into a colossal, beautiful statue of jagged dark crystal. At its very center, suspended in a heart of pure cobalt, David floated, safe and serene. The battle was finally, truly over.